Please enjoy this uninterrupted conversation as part of our academic integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state of the art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Owen Freitas, co-founder of EdUp Experience. We are back on another episode of our academic integrity series, sponsored by Integrity for Education. And speaking of, I have the CEO here with me, as always, from Germany, Thomas Fetch, the CEO of Integrity for Education. Tommy, how you doing today?
Hi, Elvin. Hi, Rebecca. I'm doing fine today. I'm very excited for another nice discussion about academic integrity.
Yeah, let's get right into it. You know how we work, Tommy. So today we have Dr. Rebecca Hopkins. She's the Vice President of Learning at Western Technical College. Rebecca, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, surviving the holidays.
Yes.
trying to get through. So, this is going to be a fun conversation, Rebecca. So we want to know all about you, Rebecca. What do you do and how do you do it?
Well, I am the Vice President of Learning, as you said, at Western Technical College. And what that means is I'm in charge of the academics. Western Technical College is a 2-year public open access technical college. And prior to coming to Western Technical, I was a Dean of Education at a 4-year private institution. So it's quite a different environment for me, and I absolutely love it. So I have 6 divisions that I oversee. There's a academic excellence, education, and human services division. There's an integrated technology, business. There is a learner support and transition, which is all of our academic embedded supports. There is a health and public safety. That's our largest division, student-wise. And we have so many amazing programs, including transfer to, 4-year institutions for the pathways that are right for those learners' career goals. And I work with my deans and associate deans and the other administrators to make sure that we are answering the need in our district. We work really collaboratively across the Wisconsin Technical College system, and we do so in a way that I think is pretty unique. So we try to just really focus in on workforce needs and, elevating social mobility for our community.
Wow, that's fantastic. One thing that you mentioned, I didn't even know there was a Wisconsin Technical College system.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? I don't know much about it. That's really interesting. How do you guys share information? How does it work? You're part of it, all that good stuff.
Well, we have 16 of us in the state, and we all serve, a portion of the state of Wisconsin. We are in a system, so we've got a central office, a state office. We have a president of the WTCS system, but each of our colleges are also autonomous institutions, but we do have some state-aligned curriculum. We do have processes for oversight through the state office for, meeting the needs of our employers and stakeholders. So there's, very set processes for how we do new program development. We have statute in the state of Wisconsin, obviously, that we have to follow for admissions processes and wait lists and all these kinds of things. So we all go to a lot of state-called meetings. We share information, we support each other, and we try to do our best to support the workforce in our state.
Fantastic. Love to hear that. That sounds like an amazing system. Over to you, Tommy.
Thank you. Good. Hey, so I tried to get the curve right into the academic integrity piece. So I learned. So you, if I understood correctly, you work like more with adult learners. Is that true, or is that kind of mix from undergrads? And what is your student population look like?
Our student population is varied. I would say the median age is probably like 26. We do get students that come right out of their high school um, graduation to Western. We do get a lot of our returning adults that want to change careers or upskill. We have a large business and industry services arm of the college, which is working directly with our employer stakeholders for contracted learning, professional development, those types of things. So it's
Mhm.
varied. We 70% of our learners are part-time. Um, we have, in our state of Wisconsin, we have about 12% non-white population. Our college serves about 18 to 19. So we are a great place for everyone, but we're the only place for some.
All right. Yeah, makes a good point to it. And talking about academic integrity, do you come across like issues with academic integrity because of reason or just like just because I don't know AI dropped into the education scene? So do you see any academic integrity or more academic dishonesty um, incidents going on? And is there some kind of trending?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There's such a varied type of careers that we prepare people for at our institution. And so it's anything from, an AAS or an AA, a 2-year applied science or liberal arts, which most students who want to do that are going to transfer into a different 4-year institution for a pathway.
Hmm.
But we also have, we train nursing is one of our biggest programs. Business management is one of our biggest programs. And so I would say that the academic integrity issues that we face are pretty common to anywhere. I used to teach before I was in higher education. I taught K-12, and I have to tell you, one of the hardest skills that I had to teach my middle schoolers, seventh, eighth, and ninth graders, was that multiple perspective taking, where you have to like take different sorts of types of information and put them together into something that is cohesive, and that's very difficult to teach at that age. Well, I've handled plagiarism cases and academic integrity cases all the way on up to doctoral level students. And in my experience, most of the time when we are seeing academic integrity issues, it's truly that they don't understand how to cite or to how to integrate ideas, and it's more of that learning opportunity to say, okay, this is not how to do that, but here's how you do that, and to give them that, take that teachable moment and really view that developmentally. Of course, there are some issues where there are just some cutting of corners and we don't have time and we just did this and cheated, or used somebody else's work. That's happened. I think what's hard is when the modality differs as well. And I think we find some of the biggest challenges in our online courses, especially those that are asynchronous, um, because our faculty are always looking for different ways to increase engagement and to have that guided guided learning experience with each of our students, even though they're online and asynchronous. What the student expectations are of that and what we have on offer sometimes are a mismatch. But I would say that we do see a fair amount of AI generated kinds of concerns right now. And we've had several discussions about it among the deans and our faculty, and we have adjusted policies to, encompass this. But we certainly know that we are going to be learning and learning and learning more and more.
All right. Yeah. So the unintentional cheating, right? So that's what you meant at the beginning. We've heard this several times already, and I think there is a huge need on the market. I think, or to really foster students and keep them informed, maybe inform them over and over again, and just teach them how to I don't know, behave very ethical, and really keep the learning moment, as you said. So that's pretty interesting. I get that. If you talk about like more of a academic integrity challenge in online learning, so how much of your courses are online asynchronous versus on campus or like face-to-face teaching?
I would say the majority of our programs, I would say, are more hybrid now. Uh,
Hmm.
Obviously, through the pandemic, we had to have a dramatic shift to online learning as a
Yeah,
result
sure.
of all of that. Some of our students got really used to that, in particular in our business division. The demand seems to be primarily online. But, in health and public safety, when we're training police officers and respiratory therapists and radiographers and nurses, obviously there is the in person and lab and applied skills opportunities there. General studies, I would say, is probably, 60% online, maybe 50.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
Business, maybe 40, something like that.
I get it. Okay. So yeah, and there is a difference. So you realize there's a difference when it comes to the opportunity of cheating, say like this. Is it easier, or did I understand correctly? So it's easier in online than in on campus scenarios.
It's definitely a perception of the faculty because it's harder to feel connected and it's harder to observe learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to build in as many engagement strategies as possible to make learning visible. And I think a lot of times, when we talk about academic integrity and what is it, it has to go all the way back to the beginning, when a student comes in, walks through the doors of the college to say, what are you here for? What is learning? What does that look like? It is just you producing a product. It's a process. And in that process, we need to make sure that we are leveraging your strengths, that we're providing opportunities for you to connect new learning to prior knowledge, all of these things. And so once we talk more explicitly about what learning is and isn't, we're hoping that students will see that tools like AI are tools for thinking, but that artificial intelligence has to be accompanied with human intelligence for them to build the capacity and the skill sets and internalize that learning that they absolutely want to do and see themselves doing for that career goal.
All right. And did you like from that experience, did you change the way of teaching in a way? So did you change the way faculty so maybe back a little bit. So incorporating AI in learning. So we heard that also quite often. I think this is the challenge here right now, right? How to incorporate AI to make it a tool, but not a cheating tool or not a cheating opportunity, right? So I think that to deviate that and just separate it in this is good and this is bad. Yeah, we get it. So we need to inform all our students all the time. Maybe we need to do that over and over again every start of a semester. Maybe bring them in and really talk about it. Let students know what they can and cannot do. The better they understand, the better they feel the sense of why they're here and what they learn and how they learn. All right, that's all understood. But did you find a way to separate AI like in this two in like this two preferences, like good and bad? Say it like this, very easy.
I would say that in academics, we're developing more of an approach that like use cases. And so the faculty, we have a subgroup of faculty that are working on, what feels like the appropriate learning tool in AI for this thing that we want to do in the classroom or this skill set that we want to build. And so we are looking at those things, but we do have, you know, um, AI utilization syllabi statements, obviously, to say this is what's allowed in this class. This is a good use of AI, and most of the faculty are, really bringing that forward right from the beginning of the class to say, this is how we're going to use it. I know it's out there. We all know that there are tools out there, but we want to be sure that you're getting what you need out of this class and out of the program. So we're trying to be really proactive about that. And we'll say, you can't do this, but you can do this, this type of thing. And that's evolving as our faculty get more and more experienced as well. I would say as a college, we're just right at the beginning of, really an enterprise strategy, as far as like, yes, teaching and learning in the classroom, but also as a college, how do we want to use it to elevate and accelerate our capacity for serving our students? But I would say that yes, there are things that we don't think serve students well, and each faculty member tries to say that in their statement and in their syllabus at the beginning of the class. That being said, every student that comes to the college takes a first term common course called the Strengths
Oh,
Seminar.
okay.
And so they do take the Strengths Finder and they find out their strengths, but it's also really creating that habit of mind of the learner. And so it's really trying to orient our students from the very beginning about that habit of reflection and thinking about their thinking, thinking about their learning. And that is an emphasis of that course. Obviously, it is a 1 credit class, but
Mhm.
it's also taught by our academic intervention faculty. And so these are faculty that are trained teachers. That's their subject matter expertise, and master's degrees are higher, and they're like learning specialists. And so they work with these students, all of them across the college. And if they see like there are some skill sets that need support, then we have some academic supports ready to go for them.
I get it. And do you track like on academic behavior, misconduct in a
Oh,
way?
yes.
You
Yes,
do? Okay.
we
Mhm.
do. We just tightened up, um, I would say, our practice on this. We've always had it in policy that, if a student is suspected of plagiarism or cheating, we're supposed to put this in a Maxient report. That's the software
Mm.
we use for that
Like
tracks.
case management, right? Or
Huh?
is that a case management? I think I heard of it once, but is
Yeah,
that
you can go in and be like, how many Maxient reports have been, what was the resolution,
all
so
right, right.
so it's cataloged and you're not starting over, and then you truly do know where they are in their learning. Is this a repeat sort of incident, or is it, new? Um, but I would say that the deans, are my academic deans and their associate deans, they handle quite a number of things in any given day and any given week. And so we're just recalibrating, I'd say, the level to which it rises to the report. And so we are working with our student life partners because we have that point in time where it crosses into a student conduct issue. And so it depends on if it's a course level issue or if it's a college level issue. And but along the way, like, it's how do we support them? How do we, um, you know, help them to understand what has occurred?
All right. Okay. So you can also find out a little bit about patterns. I don't know if me, Tommy,
Absolutely.
always cheating like through all courses he's attending. So then you would figure it out, and the red light would
Yeah.
blur.
And
So
after a year, we can say, all right, how many incidents did we have this year?
okay.
The nature of them, how many of them got to this point,
All right, all right. So, have you tried to inform specific like students that are more cheating than others, like about their own, like reflect on it in a way, give some kind of feedback, instant feedback on, hey, we caught you again. So maybe, and then you can just put them through another course, like maybe like strengths too, or something like that. You know what I mean? Is that something you thought of already, or so?
well,
Yeah.
we would put them on a plan.
Right.
Um,
Oh, you. Oh, cool.
we have student support plans. We also have personalized applied learning strategies depending on what the student's need is. But if it happens a couple times and we're fairly certain it's now a behavior versus um, something that they don't have an understanding of, uh,
Okay.
then there are consequences. Most often give like an alternative assessment and say, we want to offer you an opportunity to show us your knowledge. And so we might invite you in to have a discussion about this topic.
Right.
That's something that our deans are starting to try and do. So we'll even put it on the syllabus at the beginning of a class to say, in this course, you will be contacted by the faculty member to have a conversation about your learning. And that's an engagement strategy, but it also helps us to um, not scare students when they're being, called on. Like we suspect that this isn't your work, or we suspect that you used AI in a way that wasn't acceptable for this course. And so really what we want to know is, are you learning and are you getting out of this what you're doing? And do you understand what this means for your learning? And
Yeah.
this isn't appropriate. And so when you try to call the student in to have that conversation, we're trying to normalize that so that students feel like that is a good opportunity to connect. It's not a high risk situation. It's just me being honest with my teacher of what I know and don't know. It's like a check-in. But for those students that there is a suspected issue with, then when you call them in, you can at least get them in there, because sometimes the students are like, I'm not coming in. I don't want to talk to you about that. I'll just take the 0. Or they'll refuse to admit that it was anything other than their work and their really hard work. And I spent a really long time on that. And our approach right now is to say, well, I'm glad that you spent a lot of time on this, but let's talk about it then. What was your approach? And how did you learn, and what tools did you use? And, let's talk about that, because we want to be sure that you're building on that.
Yeah. So as long as that's not a mass phenomena, I think you can definitely that's a very good approach. I like it a lot, because more the supportive way, and really foster the students to create the outcomes they're there for, they pay for, maybe, whatever. Yeah. So I get that. Other than that, so capacity can be a issue here, right? So if I don't know, you have 1,000 students on an enrolled course and I don't know, 500 cheat, then that will take forever. But you also apply some technology. So I mentioned at the beginning that my career started in education with proctoring, so the very end of the whole process. So do you also utilize tools and let students know about it, that there is some kind of guardrails? And so sometimes that is helping only, right? So that they know, okay, I cannot do this or that because I would run or just be outside the scope that's allowed.
Yes, I mean, there are some appropriate uses of lockdown browsers for certain learning situations. Primarily, those are in our health and public safety, when we're preparing them for like a huge exam where that's going to be their experience anyway.
Mhm.
But, I would have to say that it's changing the way the faculty are thinking about their assessment approaches as well. It's moving us more. This is secretly making me super happy, because I love performance assessments, right? What could you require for the students to show their knowledge that makes them apply their learning and is more of a demonstration of their connections to that content and what they would do with that knowledge, versus, a multiple choice test or an online, sort of thing that would be kind of easy to just take some guesses at, or have somebody
Yeah.
else
So
take.
you think about like portfolios or e-portfolios or
I
something like
love
that?
portfolios. I'm a huge portfolio fan.
All right.
But it's more like case study,
All right.
for a hybrid class. This assessment we're going to do in person, and it's going to be a group thing. And here's the parameters, and here are your roles, and here's how we're going to assess you. Obviously for programs like, in the healthcare field where there's clinicals, we have to have really strong skill checks, and we have to make sure that our students know that we are not going to allow you to go into clinicals if you don't have the skills, if you can't demonstrate them. So if there's any question at all
All
that
right.
you're not going to be able to, dose medicine correctly in the healthcare setting, we're not gonna let you
At
in.
least we all
So
hope for that, right? So we
yes, you have
we
to
all
show
hope, fingers crossed again.
us, yes. But yeah, for those other more liberal arts, general studies
Mhm.
kinds of courses, really trying to, do things that would be more difficult to just use a tool to submit. And also proactively even saying like, look, here's an example of something that a student did using AI. What's wrong with it? And having students have to proactively, critically think about, okay, where's the hallucination or where is this wrong? Or,
Yeah.
what would I question out of this work if I were the instructor, and kind of flipping learning that way a little bit as well.
Or include it in learning and just let them prompt like they want, and just then describe the way how they made the research, how they came to the outcome, and what they think about it, how they validated the sources. I get that. No, it sounds like a very, very good approach. So the only fear I'd have, like always, and this is, I think, where this technology comes into play in academic integration, has always to do with capacity. So because if the more you ask and the more individualized it gets, of course, the more you need to put effort in it, and you need to have like faculty and staff really look over it. But it's a perfect way. So I also a really big fan of exactly that. If you can really stay on top of that, it's the same like you apply rules. Someone need to be there to at some point figure out, okay, how the rules are in line. And people do people stick to the rules, and yeah, that's about it. I get it.
Yeah, it's going to be a constant learning, I think, an evolution of, you know,
Maybe AI can help us here over the time, right? Specifically looking into what people created and have some kind of automized pre-check of things, just like the general, I don't know, output that has been created, that you can just correct it more or less, and then take the human in the loop and just focus on the flagged content. Hey, you need to look into this, and just cross-question, maybe get a little bit more into detail. I think that would help both sides, maybe. Yeah.
yes, I think
All
so.
right. Cool. Elvin, I think that's about it, talking about academic education today.
So Rebecca, we've been doing these a lot, and there's a pattern now that I've seen, a trend. The faculty keep saying we want more professional development. We need to learn more. Like you're still nodding your head, yeah, yeah. So I'm sure that's part of what you're working with. So talk us through your mindset. How do you think about that? And how do you research that and say, obviously they're coming to you, we need this, and then you're saying, okay, I'm going to try to get the right opportunity for you to learn what you need to learn in order to better serve the students. But talk us through, like, are you thinking ahead to you saying, wait a minute, I'm not hearing this from the faculty, but I know this is coming down the pipe, so they need this. I got to get someone in here to train them for this. Talk about that whole process.
Yeah, I think professional development is huge. It's an ongoing need. It's something I think that our college does well. We have a 3-year new faculty experience. So when you come to Western, if you have had no teaching experience, or even if you've had some teaching experience, you go through this cohort of new faculty experience, and we talk about all these things in there, and it's a community of support as you move through these first few years. So that I know has been just completely valuable. We've had about 70 faculty now that have come through that. And the ongoing professional development, we fund it pretty well at our college, division specific, program specific. But, as the vice president, I'll sit with the deans, and we also have a professional learning committee that faculty sit on. And so they can voice what they want through that mechanism. I also have a faculty learning council that advises me. So I can bring them things and they can give me some ideas. But I have a whole team called Academic Excellence, and there's like 8. There's like instructional designers, there's faculty developers, educational technology, and we support the faculty in every PD week, which is there's 3 of them a year. We do something that we've heard that all of the faculty want, but at the same time, we've differentiated and we've launched a communities of practice approach. So we're like, okay, what do you want to learn and why? Is it subject matter expertise? Is it teaching and learning? Because you need to be working on both of those things. AI has been a huge need and desire, obviously, of the faculty. So we've done some college-wide keynote speakers. We've also done that. We brought that same keynote speaker in to co-facilitate a community of practice with the faculty that wanted to, extend their learning with that support throughout the school year. We're doing that this year. We do faculty showcases, and it's really quite fascinating to hear how the faculty in agribusiness are experiencing AI versus the faculty over here in communications, the faculty over here in, welding, and it's really rounding out, I think, in an interesting way, what the use of this technology can and has been looking like. So we really have several things that we do. We allow for faculty to drive their own learning. We do like a community of practice, sort of contract. We have funds that a faculty can just go somewhere. We have system wide things. We have a faculty summit where this has been a huge focus for the system. We can learn from each other's institutions. So it's really multifaceted, and we're just trying to make sure that reflection on practice and communication and sharing of knowledge is ever present and is part of the culture.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I assume academic integrity is a big part of it, that as well, which is just fantastic. Okay, that's super helpful. All right, Rebecca, last question. Get your crystal ball out.
Oh no.
What do you see as the future of higher education? And you can add academic integrity if you want.
Well, I think that it's interesting, having been at a 4-year private institution and now being at a 2-year public open access institution. And in the space of higher ed, I see a lot of positioning to be workforce aligned in the current climate. I think that this is something that has been used to divide, those on value propositions of higher education. Like, well, is it going to end in something? Or I have very mixed feelings on those, having been in both environments. But I have to say that the role that our 2-year institutions play is super important. And I think that to do higher education better in the future, I think more partnership with the 2 years, more distinguishing between the career pathways versus this institution's better than this institution. It's where do we want to go? Where do people want to go? What are the skills that are needed? And where are the right pathways to do that? I think experiential learning is huge. I think there's a huge population of people who don't feel like they have access to higher education. They don't feel like it's for them. They have this very myopic view of what college can look like. So I think that when you've got your Harvards and you've got your Princetons and there's prestige with that, I think there is just a ton of prestige in being a 2-year community and technical college that can elevate social mobility for a whole segment of the population that has been left out. And to me, it's the community vibrancy piece, and it's the equity piece of, helping people see themselves as being able to meet their goals and being able to see themselves in way different kinds of ways than they would have been thinking before. I think that if we do that in higher ed, if we focus on those kinds of things together, I think that we won't be jockeying so much for, oh, we're workforce aligned. No, we're workforce aligned. It's more like, okay, how do we all serve the workforce and beyond, and what does that look like, and how do we do that together? I do think that there is a lot of room for growth in that partnership.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It just reminds me of a conversation we had with Mark Milliron, the president of National University. He said, because so many people talk about 43 million, some college, no credential, things like that. And then he said, what about the millions who haven't even like tried yet? Like you kind of touching upon that, right? Like, how do we get to them and all help them? And they have so many options within higher ed. So how do we get to all those people and make them believe that this is an option for you is the best way to go?
Well, and the other thing I'd just like to say quickly is that, we do a lot of transcripted credit, dual enrollment with our high school kids, right? And that's very important. It's very important to families. It's important to communities because it lowers the cost of that higher education experience. Our adult learners on the other side of it have so many valid and good experiences that don't get equated necessarily systemically into credit for prior learning kinds of things. To me, it's the adult learner version of dual credit or transcripted credit. And so I see a huge national movement towards all learning mattering. How do we provide much more clear, legit, honored pathways from non-credit to credit opportunities, and really widen those pathways and have much more bold access to folks. Think of those who serve in the military, all the skills that they come in. We serve a lot of military connected learners and families, and they bring a ton of skills, but we got to translate that into what this looks like here. I think that is the real work that I see us moving toward in the future nationally, credit to non-credit, all learning mattering.
Yeah, absolutely. And add on the experiences, right? Prior learning, all that stuff. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. 100% right with you. Great conversation. Let me first outro my co-host from Germany, Thomas Fetz, CEO at Integrity for Education. Tommy, thank you as always.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Elvin, for this nice and exciting discussion today.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me outro our guest, ladies and gentlemen. She's your guest today. She is Dr. Rebecca Hopkins, and she's the Vice President of Learning at Western Technical College. Rebecca, thank you so very much for being with us today.
It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd. Thanks for listening to this uninterrupted conversation as part of our Academic Integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de.